Reb Sanders ordered them never to lose because it would be a shame their yeshiva. Yeshiva is a place where the actual word means to sit down, where you sit down and study. It's a synagogue study center. So you sit down, and Yoshev in Hebrew means to sit down. So you sit down and you study. And that's all you do. And you don't think of these people as being able to play baseball, but they are actually ultimately enthusiasts for some of these things. So they're laughing and kidding because these kids are less religious than the other kids. They're all religious, but the one group is less religious than the other group. And they're out. He ordered them never to lose because we shamed their yeshiva. And I grinned at him, yeah, holy war, ha ha ha, you know. It's good, it's good banter, and it's portrayed that way. And, hey, Galactor shouted, don't talk like that, that's the coach. There's a war on, remember. You know, you can't just talk about war lightning. And then they came into the yard, the other team. This is on page 14. I guess it's on your page 8 or something. Yeah, better write it down because otherwise I don't have it down here. There were 15 of them, and they were dressed. See, this is a great podium. Without this podium, I'd be dead. I can lean forward, and it doesn't break, you see. Yeah, flip it. You know, whoops, there we go. I'm like Danny here. I'm using my, like Ruth, this is my glasses. Okay, so this is page 8 in your book. 8. And I give it back because otherwise I'll run off with it. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to, I always run off with people's pens. Thanks a lot. So there were 15 of them, all dressed alike, in white shirts, dark pants, white sweaters, small black skull caps. What's the word for them? People usually use yarmulke, they call them. But in Israel today, they just call them kippahs. Little round things covering their head. In the fashion of the very Orthodox, their hair was closely cropped, and they had side curls. They have short hair and side curls. It's from a biblical injunction, and they shall be for frontlets between thine eyes, or something like that. That you let the curls of your hair, don't cut them. I don't know where they get this idea, and you know, they see it in some biblical commandment. And they wore tzitzit, T-Z-I-T-Z-I-T. They wore tzitzit. Let's see, T-Z-I-T-Z-I-T. Tzitzit. What are tzitzit? Fringes underneath their cloak. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but they have fringes. It's also a biblical commandment that you should have fringes on your clothing. It's in Deuteronomy or Leviticus or one of those books. I'm sure you could Google it up and you'll find it immediately. So they had tzitzit on. And he gives the biblical commandment here. And ye shall look upon it, which pertains to the fringes, the four corners of the garments, swung against their pants. They were very orthodox. But still they had, we used to call in those days, Levi's were called dungarees. Levi's is a brand name for a kind of dungaree, but they used to call them dungarees back in that time. Now everything is called Levi's, whether it's a Levi or it isn't a Levi. I mean, you can have another company and it's still Levi's. That's that's pretty imprecise. So they wore, if you like, Levi's short pants, polo shirts, sweatshirts, etc. But none of us wore fringes outside his trousers. Anyway, so I think the game begins. Well, I think first they play the practice a bit, and so on and so forth, and they want to practice on the field. There's a little ill feeling develops, and they were hitting grounders over the next few minutes, and they had to watch them doing it, and one team's on the side, and so you get this discussion here. You see, he said, as he bent to retrieve the ball. Sure, I said, especially the one batting. You'll see, the ball was coming back to me and I caught it neatly and flipped it back. Who's that one batting? That's Danny Sanders. But, pardon my ignorance, I said, but who's Danny Sanders? Reb Sanders' son. You should know, you should know who he is, Reb Sanders. He's the big sort of leader of this group. So he describes what Danny looks like. He was a good deal taller than I. He was somewhat ordinary, but decent proportioned features. His chin, jaw, cheekbones were made up of